4 University of Idaho students' bodies were discovered in a home close to campus in Moscow, Idaho, after a student called 911 to report an unconscious person. Authorities labeled the incident an isolated, targeted attack with an edged weapon at the time, and described the killings as a crime of passion. A county investigator later ruled all 4 deaths homicides by stabbing, though much about the case remained unknown. 3 of the victims, 20-year-old Sana Kernodle, 21-year-old Kaylee Goncalves, and 21-year-old Madison Mogan, were murdered at a house in an off-campus neighborhood where they shared a home together with 2 other roommates. The 4th victim, 20-year-old Ethan Chapin, was in a relationship with Sana and stayed the night as her guest. On the day of the murders, Kaylee shared a photo on Instagram of herself and the 3 other victims posing together, with Ethan holding Sana's arm and Madison wearing an Idaho sweatshirt while sitting on Kaylee's shoulders. Kaylee captioned the photo, "One lucky girl to be surrounded by these people every day." Madison and Kaylee went to a bar downtown the night before the attack, while Ethan and Sana reportedly attended a party. A video livestream of the 2 women ordering from a food truck at 1:45 a.m. on November 13th can be seen from CCTV. Later, the 4 friends gathered at the large rental home, which, according to the police, showed no sign of forced entry. Officers were reported to have discovered the door open when they first arrived at the scene, several hours after the murders took place. According to police, the 2 other roommates were in the house during the time of the attack, though they were unharmed. Police have said that one of the survivors called 911 at approximately 11:55 a.m. to report an unconscious person, believing one of their roommates had passed out. The only survivors of the massacre, Bethany Funke and Dylan Mortensen, discovered the dead bodies of their friends in their off-campus house hours after the vicious attack. They had reportedly been sleeping throughout the bloodbath for the first 7 weeks of the police investigation. However, a police report revealed something far more terrifying. Dylan had a direct encounter with the murderer just before he crept out of the college house. She claimed that the killer entered the house through the back sliding door while wearing all black clothing and a mask over his face as he brushed past the surviving roommates. The Idaho student slayings baffled America and appeared to be the perfect crime, with cops seemingly chasing their tails and the families of the 4 victims voicing their frustration. For months, the police released nearly no clue as to who was responsible for this unspeakable act of violence, leading the public to worry that the investigation had gone nowhere. On December 30th, 2022, police announced that Bryan Kohberger had been arrested in connection with the murders. At 3 a.m., he was arrested at his family's home in Albrightsville, with approximately 50 law enforcement officers on the scene. But who was this man whose stare is eerily similar to that of infamous serial killer Ted Bundy? Bryan Kohberger spent the majority of his life flying under the radar. Growing up in Pennsylvania and attending college in the Lehigh Valley, the 28-year-old DeSales University graduate is often described as an awkward, regular Joe with a dead stare. Kohberger was a teaching assistant in undergrad classes at Washington State University. He was allegedly a tough grader and would frequently interrupt female students, and even grade them unfairly compared to their male peers. Prior to teaching, he earned a master's degree in criminal justice, but didn't socialize with his peers who attended the same program. Apparently, he also took a class that focused on the psychology behind serial killers. According to people who knew Kohberger as far back as in middle school, he was described as socially awkward and was allegedly bullied, partly for being overweight. And now take this with a pinch of salt, but according to this user on Reddit, he had some anger issues and even got into physical altercations with students. I definitely got the impression that he is potentially on the autism spectrum. Our friendship ended after he got into a physical fight with me. He lost weight going into high school, had to be close to 100 pounds of weight loss, hence why he looks older. He frequented a boxing gym during his weight loss. Friends from high school say he became more aggressive after losing weight. All the way back to his pre-teen days, former schoolmates revealed he was awkward with girls and was relentlessly made fun of by cheerleader types. However, according to former friend, between his junior and senior year in high school, the bullied eventually became the bully. He was described as creepy by the owner of a bar near his home due to his interactions with female staffers and patrons. As a teaching assistant at Washington State University, a job he was eventually fired from, Kohberger was accused of sexism. He allegedly told female colleagues that men were going to take their jobs because women aren't as smart. Another Reddit user said he grew up with Kohberger and always had a weird feeling about him. Now again, take this with a pinch of salt, but the person who posted this claims that he smoked weed with Kohberger and that he displayed some erratic behavior after allegedly having been robbed. Colleagues and former classmates of him were quite shocked to find out the chubby, seemingly friendly guy they once knew from school was the perpetrator of such a violent crime. According to those who were familiar with Kohberger, he came across as rather friendly, although slightly odd at first glance. Kohberger gave some hints prior to the murders regarding his dark side lurking beneath the surface of his friendly facade. On the forum Tap a Talk, he made a post stating the following: "I've had this horrible depersonalization going on in my life for almost 2 years. I often find myself making simple human interactions, but it's as if I'm playing a role-playing game, such as Oblivion. I can see what's going on, I'm slightly into it, but I can pause the game and focus on my real life. I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth. As I'm starting to view everyone as this, everything I've ever done makes no sense. I'm stuck in this void of nothing, feeling completely no emotion, feeling nothing. I feel dirty, like there's dirt inside of my head. I felt like a criminal, but where's my record? I can't remember anything recent or anything from childhood. I used to be able to remember everything from my childhood and everything every day for a month before me. Now I am just a blank soul living in the now. What hurts me the most is knowing that every time I try to remember things from the past, I can't, and my mind is so hung up with all the migraine versus effects mentally." The murder suspect also created a rap song about his struggles. I just need to clarify that there's no really concrete evidence that this is actually Bryan rapping, but he had linked the song to his own profile on Tap a Talk, and considering that the lyrics are very similar to what he posted on the forum, it makes me believe that he made a song.
Look at this, my mind is pissed and I keep running. Why is this? When I hit it, always leave him stunning. Always gentle giant, no defiance, all build an alliance and still think that I am present. I stuck in the future, but I'm never looking at the fucking present. Keep it up, act like you're all that. Here's a cookie too and a present. Led from a desert eagle, deagles going louder than my motherfucking beagle. And your life, you get no sequel. Leave your loved ones crying like some seagulls. You are not my equal, you are evil, but I'm feeble. And now I'm going regal.
5 months before 4 Idaho students were found brutally murdered in their shared home, suspect Bryan Kohberger appealed on Reddit to criminals to complete his survey about how they selected their targets and carried out defenses? Did you prepare for the crime before leaving your home? Why did you choose that victim or target over others? And what was the first move you made to accomplish your goal? After committing the crime, what were you thinking and feeling? He also asked how criminals leave the scene and whether they acted alone. In the context of a criminology degree, the survey may seem perfectly innocent. However, it gains harrowing sinisterism in light of his arrest on suspicion of quadruple homicide. It's posts like this that make you think that Bryan might have been contemplating killing someone for a longer period of time. According to a recent report, Bryan Kohberger attempted to contact Kaylee Gonsalves via direct messages on Instagram weeks before the 4 students were killed. The allegation that Bryan Kohberger sent multiple messages to one of the students in the weeks leading up to the heinous murder has now provided a potential link between the victim and the suspect. Kaylee Gonsalves had expressed concerns that she had a stalker. 3 weeks before the murders, Gonsalves confided to a local vape shop owner that she was stalked by an individual at night as she was going to and from bars, either by the campus or down on Main Street. Kohberger allegedly had pictures of one of the female victims on his phone. A phone that belonged to Kohberger was collected after his arrest. According to the source, authorities found pictures of the victim on the device. The source did not specify whether they were photos that he had taken of her or if they were downloaded from her social media. It was clear that he was paying attention to at least one of the victims. Whether or not this was Kaylee can neither be denied or confirmed, but it's not unlikely considering she had the biggest social media presence among the girls. What we know about Bryan Kohberger is that he seemingly had bottled up a lot of pain and suffering which he could not contain any longer. At the end of the day, we need to remember the victims and keep in mind that their legacies are infinitely more important to us than Bryan's. I'm in no way trying to glorify Kohberger's actions. I'm simply making a documentary video attempting to dive deeper into his psyche. Covering the actual murders themselves isn't all that interesting. It's just sad and brutal. There's really no entertainment value in that. But nevertheless, never forget Kaylee, Madison, Ethan, and Sana, and show respect for their loved ones.